Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Langer at the Mic Live, another Habs postgame show episode of Langer at the Mic Live. And this one stung again, just like this past Saturday against the Jets. The Montreal Canadiens, they lose another one to the Winnipeg Jets, this time in overtime again, 4-3, and another loss in their reverse retros. The Canadiens did a lot of bad things in this game. They had a very bad first period. Honestly, they had a bad first period where I found the whole, Dominique Duchamp close puck support mantra was detrimental more than helpful, because the Habs would just make too many breakout passes to break out of their zone, or go back to their old habits of just making, just completely being out of sync and making passes that would turn into, or miss passes that would turn into icing calls. And like I said, resulted in icings and turnovers. And the first goal by Stastny indirectly led to was an indirect result of a turnover and an icing play. And then the second one was directly resulted into, or was a direct result. The Perreault goal is a direct result of the Habs just making too many passes to try to break out of their zone between Kulak, Suzuki, Toffoli. I think it was Toffoli who was the last one who touched the puck. He could have easily either banked it off the wall or even skated out of the zone, but he made a dumb pass to the middle, which you don't see very often from Tyler Toffoli. And Matthew Perreault, or passed right on the tape of Matthew Perreault, and he made a nice move to beat Jake Allen. But you know what? While Claude Julien would get criticized for not being able to adjust, Dominique Duchamp and the Montreal Canadiens tonight, they showed that they can adjust, because the Habs came out absolutely flying in the second period. They sustained a lot of offensive pressure. A lot of that had to do with the line of Jesperi Kotkaniemi, Yoel Armia, and Arturi Lehkonen. And eventually the Jets, they got into the penalty box because of Andrew Copp tripping Philip Deneau, right? And guess what? The Montreal Canadiens, their power play, hey, it's only been, two or three games now, or okay, maybe 4 games where they've scored power play goals. Yeah, they have power play goals in 3 of their last 4 games. So we still need to see a bit of a larger sample size, because they could very well, teams could very well adjust to what they're doing, and the Habs could go back into another 1 or 2 for 18 funk. But all this to say, it looked like kind of looked like it was going to be that, because the first power play wave of Shea Weber, Tyler Toffoli, Nick Suzuki, and Drouin barely got set up in a minute 15 seconds while they're on the ice. But the second power play wave of Jesperi Kotkaniemi, Brendan Gallagher, Thomas Tatar, and Corey Perry and Jeff Petry, they got set up pretty much right away, mostly because of Jesperi Kotkaniemi and his poise with the puck, with time and space. And also because of Corey Perry's knowledge down low, and experience and savvy and skill down low, which we'll talk a lot about today, especially later on, because as we get to the tying goal. But yeah, just look, Corey Perry just knows when there's a chance to take it to the net and when not to. And in that instance, he just took it surprisingly and quickly to the net. And the Jets penalty killers just weren't ready, including former Canadian Nathan Beaulieu. And the puck, just because Perry obviously didn't bury it on the first try, but the rebound came right back in front of the slot, where, again, the Jets penalty killers were not ready. And it was right there for the taking for Thomas Tatar and Brendan Gallagher, who eventually buried it and made it 2-1. And the Habs continued their strong play. They did get into a bit of penalty trouble. They just took a hooking penalty from Jonathan Drouin. He had another great game, by the way, Drouin did. And he took an offensive zone penalty, which I personally ragged on Drouin for the longest time, but we haven't seen that a lot this year. But hey, that could have been a crucial point. That was a critical point in the game, especially if the Jets, went up 3-1 at that point. But the Habs managed to kill it off. And what I noticed there was, unlike in the previous 8 games or whatever it's been, the Canadiens, on that penalty kill by the Jets, or the power play the Jets had in the second period, the Canadiens did a phenomenal job protecting the middle of the ice. Every time the Jets try to cross seam pass or to feed the slot, there was, Byron stick on puck, Deneau stick in the lane, Edmondson stick in the lane. They were quick at reacting to pucks getting to the slot and clearing the zone, which is why they effectively killed off that power play. And then the Habs, shortly after that, the Habs got, who would have thought, when you kill off penalties and score on the power play and are good on special teams, that could feed your play at 5-on-5. And surely enough, minutes after that, the Habs did get some puck luck, because Drouin's point shot pinballed off of Suzuki, off of Toffoli, and past Connor Hellebuyck to tie it at 2. Honestly, it almost feels like that's one of the only ways you can really beat Connor Hellebuyck, or with a bad goal, because again, Connor Hellebuyck, he'll make phenomenal, fantastic saves. He's so good at tracking pucks through traffic. He's a big 6'4" goaltender who's really, really good at tracking pucks through traffic. But just for some reason, the goals that he gives up sometimes are either, pinballs like the one that Toffoli scored, or just, bad goals. But anyway, but then look, they with the second period, with the way the Habs play in the second period, it shows that the combination of their character, their fight, and Dominique Duchamp's adjustments can be a really good combination. But with that being said, the Canadiens fell back asleep in the third period and went back to their kind of bad habits of turnovers and allowing odd man rushes, allowing odd man situations down low, being out of sync. And then Stastny scored another goal, which honestly, you like looking at it a couple of times, you can blame Shea Weber and Nick Suzuki for kind of losing awareness of Stastny down low, but that goal was entirely on Jake Allen. For all the heat that Carey Price took these last couple of weeks, that goal was entirely on Jake Allen, because not only could he have made a simple pass to his left to Ben Sherratt, who was open and ready for a pass, instead of passing it to Weber, who wasn't as ready for a pass, and Allen's pass wasn't even that good to Weber, so it was out of his reach, and so Weber has to gets drawn to the point when Weber shouldn't have been. He should have been keeping an eye on Stastny, but still, that turnover is on Allen. But then even worse, I have to get some water for this one. Even worse, the mini 2-on-1 where Stastny beat Allen. Stastny beat Allen on that 2-on-1 because Jake Allen misexecuted the reverse VH technique, which is exactly what Stéphane Goyette, my former goalie coach, who was on the show today, my Langer at the Mic podcast episode, check it out on my previous video and on Spotify. Stéphane Goyette and I specifically talked about how the reverse VH is the most misexecuted technique by goalies, by far. Because even in the same, earlier this evening, tonight, Matt Martin scored on Jonas Johansson of the Buffalo Sabres from below the goal line, because Johansson was in the reverse VH, even though Matt Martin was all the way in the corner, when instead Johansson could have been standing up on his post and ready on his post. But nope, reverse VH down on the ice, exposing the top corner. Because again, in the reverse VH, so just to remind you, the reverse VH was exactly what Jake Allen did on that Stastny goal, where your skate is your inside leg is knee down on the post with your blocker covering the space between your butt and the side of your body and the post, and your shoulder can only cover so much. So there's always going to be that little opening at the top, or just between the shoulder and the crossbar. So again, while it is effective for down low plays and for being in control with your stick and all that, it is just so misused, because when Stastny has time and space and is more in the middle and not at a dead angle, or even if Stastny's at a dead angle, if you're far away, you cannot be in the reverse VH as a goaltender, because your blocker or your glove, your short side blocker or short side glove, whichever, depending on what side you're on, is blocking space, and therefore you cannot react with it. So there is no way of covering the space above your shoulder. So And at the NHL level, shooters, especially when they have time and space, they can beat you 9 times out of 10 if you give them, especially with the space that Jake Allen gave Paul Stastny. So again, reverse VH technique. Check out my video with Stéphane Goyette. We covered it. We covered it for a good 5 minutes or 10 minutes in our episode or our show there. But yeah, the reverse VH is the most misexecuted technique by goalies in hockey today. As a former goalie myself, I stopped playing by the time the reverse VH just took off. So I only used it for wraparounds, but just as maybe again, I'm old school for that, but still as a former goalie watching hockey nowadays, the reverse VH is the most misexecuted technique in hockey. But anyway, back to the game though. Third period, after that, there was Shea Weber who sucker punched Paul Stastny. Paul Stastny had a very busy game today, which that was just plain stupid, and honestly Weber deserves to be benched for that. Honestly, like what kind of selfish, moronic play, or what kind of how are you so undisciplined where you lose your stick, and instead of trying to box out Stastny, you actually sucker punch him in a 1-goal hockey game? Stupid by Shea Weber. Just stupid. Thankfully, the Jets had like 3 chances of scoring that. The Habs weren't as good on the PK there, but thankfully the Habs survived that. And then there was a 10-minute span of no whistles. But then late in the game, Jonathan Drouin, who again has been having a fantastic season so far, tipped in a shot from Jeff Petry while Corey Perry was screening Connor Hellebuyck in front to tie it at 3-3. And I was honestly so happy for Jonathan Drouin. It was only his 3rd goal of the season, but guess what? Jonathan Drouin does have 15 points in 22 games, I believe. Yeah, 3 goals and like 12 assists at this point. He's also a plus-minus player for the first time since 2015, 2016, or I think 2015, 2016. And he's honestly just one of the best forwards on the Habs, plain and simple. Like, sure, you can bring up the Sergachev trade again and say that Sergachev won a Stanley Cup with the Tampa Bay Lightning, but I'm pretty sure Sergachev is like more of a bottom pair defenseman for the Lightning, while Jonathan Drouin is a top 6 forward. And especially if you give him more, if you have Josh Anderson on his line, or soon maybe Cole Caulfield, who can actually finish as a guy that makes plays, like looks for the perfect play each time, that will be dangerous. And Jonathan Drouin will be even that much more effective, which we'll get to Caulfield in a little bit more. But also, like I said last time, Corey Perry, and like I said just a couple of minutes ago, Corey Perry is just so valuable. He is so valuable to this roster. Like with his ability to play down low, with his ability to screen goalies, with his ability to make, quick, savvy pass plays, whatever in front, where like a step ahead of the opposing team trying to defend him, and he finds somehow an open guy like Brendan Gallagher yesterday, right? Down low. Like Corey Perry is extremely valuable to this team. The Habs don't tie it up there without Corey Perry doing what he was doing, screening Connor Hellebuyck. So, but then overtime, dumb. Yeah, overtime. Honestly, I don't have too many issues with how the Habs played that overtime. They didn't play Gallagher. They did not play Romanov in that overtime. But to me, like what led to that Pierre-Luc Dubois game winner was just honestly bad luck, Like, and honestly, the Jets could have easily won that game in overtime earlier, and the Habs could have also won that game. So from the top, like, look, it was nice to see Jesperi Kotkaniemi instead of Philip Deneau take the opening faceoff. And then Drouin came on next with Ben Sherratt, which you can say Romanov should be on for Ben Sherratt. Fine. And Drouin and Sherratt, ran into each other, which led to, I think it was Kyle Connor who had the breakaway on Jake Allen, who made a really nice save. And credit Jonathan Drouin for back checking all the way back on Kyle Connor, because it forced Kyle Connor to shoot a lot quicker and allowed Allen maybe a better chance to make the save. But then Connor Hellebuyck also stood on his head. Like, to me, the Habs' best chance at winning there was Paul Byron, when Suzuki fake delayed his release and just had Connor Hellebuyck all off balance, and he made a nice save despite the fact that he was off balance. But then Byron had a chance to bury the rebound, and that's where Hellebuyck made a fantastic diving save a la Marc-Andre Fleury in 2009 in the Stanley Cup Finals on Nick Lidstrom to absolutely rob Byron. But to me, like, I know Byron was tied up on the play, but it's almost like I feel like if someone a bit bigger, I mean, look, I know Byron on the ice in overtime is there for his speed, but at the same time, I feel like someone who's like either bigger, just a little more skilled, like would be able to lift that puck a little higher and keep it away from a sliding Connor Hellebuyck. But anyway, again, Byron, he has his role on this team with his speed, with his penalty killing, and I'm not totally against him playing in overtime, but just he has to find a way to use his speed, which he did, because on the next play, which was a very smart play set up by Petry and Toffoli, but he couldn't finish it. But Connor Hellebuyck played a hell of a game. But then, of course, the infamous collision between Yoel Armia and Jeff Petry opened space up for Pierre-Luc Dubois, and he just rifled it past Jake Allen high glove. Like that collision, man, just more bad luck than anything, honestly. And as I mentioned last time, though, what Pierre-Luc Dubois did was something that maybe, like in terms of that goal he scored, was something that maybe one player on the Montreal Canadiens roster can do, maybe Tyler Toffoli, and another prospect who plays at Wisconsin, like I said, Cole Caulfield, can do what Pierre-Luc Dubois just did with how he scored that goal. And that is to shoot the puck not only with power and accuracy, but with an instantaneous release. And it really was the perfect shot. And honestly, I don't want to say that Cole Caulfield is going to be a savior coming in as a rookie out of college and is what is it? What is got drafted 2018, so I guess or 2019. So yeah, I guess this is second year and as after getting drafted. Like I don't want to put all that pressure on Cole Caulfield, but man, just like Caulfield will bring something to this Montreal Canadiens roster that no one else has in this current forward group. And again, just his quick release, his accuracy with shooting. If he can find time and space to unleash his one-timer, a la Mike Camilleri back in the day, Cole Caulfield is going to be dangerous on this team. Imagine if he's playing with Drouin or Kotkaniemi, man. But anyway, I don't want to put that pressure on Cole Caulfield. But anyway, look, the Pierre-Luc Dubois goal, though, that was just another dagger to the Habs where, again, honestly, this game, they didn't necessarily deserve to win, but they fought hard. They just fought so hard to come back in this game. They never gave up. They were so close to getting the 2 points, but their overtime woes just continue. And well, tonight was their best overtime in a while. Like, I feel like that's still not really saying much. I mean, look, it's easy. I guess you could say that the overtime against Ottawa last week was better because that ended up in a shootout and not an overtime loss. But is it something like can't you practice overtime 3-on-3 in practice? Like, instead of doing like the power play and the PK are pretty good right now. The effort is there. The 5-on-5 play is there for the most part. But like, man, like if the Canadiens, like where are they now? 10-6-6? No, 10-6-6. So they're going to get to the point where they will have lost more games in overtime than regulation. And these points, they're just going to come back to haunt them. I mean, if they make the playoffs, great. If they make the playoffs. But if they don't, you can point to the fact that now it's 6 overtime losses. Who knows? What is it going to be? 12 overtime losses by the end of the season? You can point right at that as the reason why you didn't make the playoffs, because you just couldn't win in overtime. And now the Habs are 0-1-2 against the Jets, 0-3-1 in the reverse retros. Man, that's another story. Look, again, it didn't affect them too much tonight in regulation because, again, they fought back, they came back, they tied it up and all that. But just, man, they just 0-3-1 in the reverse retros, man. It's just a stupid jersey color, and I know it has no impact directly on the game, but it does something in here to the players. I'm sure it does something in there. So anyway, why they have to still wear the jersey, I don't know. If the NHL mandates them to wear the reverse retros for an X amount of games, sure. But if I'm Marc Bergevin, or if I'm Dominique Ducharme, or if I'm even Captain Shea Weber or Jeff Petry or Brendan Gallagher, one of the leaders on the team, I'm just saying, you know what? We're not wearing the stupid jersey anymore. But anyway, look, Jake Allen played really well in overtime. But again, that goal he gave up in the third period, if we're going to be hard on Price, we should be hard on Allen too. And that was a terrible goal that he gave up in the third period. And I honestly feel like Price should have played tonight to keep that positive momentum going from the win against the Ottawa Senators. And I really hope Price is back in the net on Saturday. I think they were talking about, splitting the games between Allen and Price anyway against the Jets. So fine, perfect. Just get him in the net, especially with all the crap that he put up with this weekend. That's another thing I want to talk about real quick here is that, like, I as someone in sports broadcasting that, aspires to become a reporter or a journalist or an anchor or a sports person, like doing this, podcasting, on a radio show, co-hosting, hosting, whatever. Like, to me, the media is, as someone in media, you have power to control the narratives of what people think of a hockey game or a hockey team, whatever, right? And also along those lines, you have the opportunity to make players and athletes have better days or worse days. And the media just the reason why Montreal is just such a tough place to play is for days like what Carey Price had to go through on yesterday, with, like, after getting finally your first win in 5 games, Marc Bergevin fires the goalie coach, which fine, whatever. Bergevin made that decision. I'm not going to argue whether it was the right or wrong one, but he made it. But just have Bergevin answer the questions because that's his job. But Price, just why have Price talk to the media, and why not ask? I think only 2 reporters, I think it was Eric Engels after that first question that he asked, which I'm not going to talk about too much, but whatever. Yeah, I'm not going to get into that. But after the second question he asked was at least like, is there enthusiasm around the changes, the positive changes to the coaching staff and all that, But no, maybe one other reporter asked like another question about positivity but not a single reporter asked, how did it feel to finally break the losing streak last night, or like on Tuesday, right? How did it feel to finally, break the losing streak, and what does this mean for your confidence, type of thing? Why couldn't anyone ask that question? Okay, maybe it's a dumb question, sure, but at least it's a question. It's a positive question. Anyway, so again, to me, as going into sports broadcasting, if God willing, one day become a reporter or someone on air or just anchoring. I want to ask good and fair questions, but I also want to be aware of the situation and ask the right questions only at the appropriate time. So that's all I really have to say about that. Hey, let's hope that if Price gets the net on Saturday, which I'm pretty sure he will, hopefully he can backstop the Habs to a win. And that's all we have here. I know it's been a longer show here today, or longer Habs postgame show here on Langer at the Mic, but thank you so much for watching. As usual, if you enjoy my commentary, give me a big thumbs up on this video. Give me a subscribe to my channel here, and also check out my conversation with my former goalie coach, Stéphane Goyette, here and on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But and also, of course, give me a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Mike Langer. But this has been a Habs postgame show here on Langer at the Mic Live. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you again next time.